The University of Washington can feel like such a large place for incoming students. One way to help it feel smaller is to get involved in RSOs or registered student organizations. There are so many RSOs that students can join, ranging from identity based, hobby based, and even to academic based groups. As part of our student involvement series, we'll be talking to officers from various RSOs to learn more about their programming as well as how it's helped them make UW feel like a smaller place. Joined with me in this episode are three officers from the Filipino American Student Association, or FASA for short. FASA is one of the 6 legacy organizations on campus, the other 5 being MECHA, First Nations, the Micronesian Islanders Club, Polynesian Student Union, and BSU. These organizations have such a rich history on campus and have all had an impact and influence on UW as we know it today. Huddle up with Jamillah Sese, Grace Declinas, and Rhandell Balboa Saya to learn more about FASA and student involvement from their perspective as students at UW. Joined with me are Jamillah Sese, Grace Declinas, and Rhandell Balboa Saya. Hello! How are y'all?
Hey, we're good, dude.
Doing good.
Since I already know who you are, since I've already worked with you in the past as an officer myself previously, and then kind of currently doing this, just let others know a little bit more about yourself, like your name, pronoun, where you're from, and your kind of current position with FASA, or the Filipino Student American Association. We can start with Jamillah.
Okay, hi everyone. My name's Jamillah. I use she, her pronouns. I'm an incoming third year majoring psychology, and I'm from Renton, Washington, and I am currently the 2022-2023 FASA UW Vice President.
Okay, hi. My name is Grace Declinas. I use she, her pronouns. I am an incoming second year. My current major is American Ethnic Studies, but I plan to double major with sociology. I am from Sacramento, California, and I am currently FASA UW's secretary for the 2022 to 2023 school year.
What's up, y'all? My name is Rhandell Balboa Saya. I go by he, him pronouns. I am an incoming fourth year here at the University of Washington. I am double majoring in education, communities, and organizations, as well as American Ethnic Studies with a minor in diversity. I am from down south, Federal Way, Washington, right over here. I am also this year's academics chair for FASA UW.
Wow, that's so lovely. I love working with y'all. For context, I was the FASA activities chair for the 2021 to 2022 board. So I did previously work with all of these lovely students, all of these lovely people in the past, either alongside the board in a different position or in committees that I ran. Kicking it off with kind of the first question, like what specifically told you to join an RSO and like what drew you to an RSO when you first got to UW and first kind of was trying to get situated?
I'm a transfer student, specifically from Western Washington University and Highline College. So one of the main reasons why I joined the Filipino American Student Association was to find that sense of community, right? Also to basically find my culture and delve a bit deeper about what it means to be Filipino American.
Yeah, I would totally agree with what Rhandell said about wanting to find your community. And for me, I feel like FASA granted me that opportunity to not only find a group of people who I clicked with really well, but also to find a community that helped me discover more about my culture and made me feel a lot more secure in my Filipino identity, and really just claim it as my own and make it something as my own rather than feeling like it was something that I had to be like compared to other Filipino identities.
I definitely agree with what Rhandell and Grace have said so far, and I wanted to add, like, from my experience, especially going into UW. UW is a really big school, so it could feel like overwhelming right away. So I thought it was nice to find a niche of a community to join, and FASA UW was really welcoming. I'm really grateful for the programming they did for my freshman year, despite it being all online, like I still felt welcomed, and it was really fun. And being able to celebrate my Filipino identity with other people's is a really uplifting feeling. Like, especially when like growing up, I felt like I kind of like hid it. And now like I'm learning how to embrace it fully.
That's awesome right there. I know that it's kind of like an RSO specific episode and kind of campus involvement and like kind of finding that little close circle for you on a campus to make it feel smaller. There are a lot of different ways to get involved in campus. Are you a part of any other student involvement, any RSOs, jobs on campus, just to kind of give more context to like how you are making UW a smaller place?
Yeah. So right now, or this upcoming year, I'm going to be a resident advisor for Madrona Hall. So if you are going to live in Madrona, see you there. But before that, I was involved in McMahon Hall Council, which is a way for students to get involved and plan events in their residence halls. And besides that, my day job, I work for catering at UW.
Yeah, so currently I am working as one of UW's orientation leaders for advising orientation. So, any incoming freshmen, listening to this little recording, if I have you as a student, just shout my name out, whatever, unmute, do whatever. Just let me know that you've listened to this podcast. That'd be pretty cool. But also for this upcoming school year, I am an OMA and D peer advisor, which is the Office of Minority Affairs and Diversity here at UW.
Yeah, that's awesome. We're all finding our little ways to make this campus smaller and getting involved and kind of giving back to our community through this. Um, I know that FASA has been an organization that has been around the UW campus for about 105 years. Grace, please correct me if I'm wrong. Um, like, what about being a part of a large history of an organization? Like, what does that spark in you? And kind of like, what history have you gone through knowing that it's been 105 years through that?
Yeah, of course. So, as Chloe mentioned, it has been 105 year legacy. Our club started in 1970, and it wasn't always called FASA. It was originally called Filipino Club, and that happened after the Pensionado Act of 1903 because a lot of Filipino students were sponsored by the government to come and study at American organizations. So those were the first roots of the club. And then after that, it evolved into Phil Eunice, which was started jointly with Seattle University, and that was from 1952 to 1955. And then after that, it became the Filipino Student Association in 1960. And this era of the Filipino organization that we have was very involved in the civil rights movements and was involved in efforts that established the Office of Minority Affairs and Diversity that Rhandell mentioned briefly earlier. And it also helped establish the Educational Opportunity Program and also helped establish the Ethnic Cultural Center alongside other legacy orgs that we have here, including DSU, MECHA, Micronesian Islands Club, Polynesian Student Alliance, and First Nations. And then finally, today it is now called Filipino American Student Association, which was changed in 1994 in order to reflect the complex identities within the Filipino community.
That's so amazing to know that like student organizations have been here forever, but not just student organizations, but also cultural student organizations and trying to build that better community for people of color in the BIPOC community. I don't think we've went through this. What kind of programming does FASA do for students, as well as what are your positions and what do you do within FASA?
So, FASA's mission statement is to foster unity and pride among its members and surrounding communities through educational, political, cultural, and social advancement. So, a lot of our programming revolves around making sure we strengthen those educational, political, cultural, and social ties, which we can go into more detail about.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that would be great. But there are four different pillars to FASA, right, Jamila?
Yes, there are. Um, we have, I'll talk about cultural. And cultural, basically, we try to, during our general meetings, try to include all aspects of Filipino culture in our meetings, in our programming, and in our merch. So look forward to that. And we have a cultural and sayaw chair. And basically, cultural chair is in charge of uh, directing film night. And film night is our largest event of the year, which is held every year in the May, and it's a night to celebrate our Filipino culture and what our FASA CUW community has been working on the whole year, since this type of event is a all year round effort, and we try to get as much people as involved as possible. And then we have also Sayao, and our Sayao program does has yearly performances, and they perform at events, all kinds of events, and yeah.
Yeah, that's so Sayao being our Filipino traditional dance troupe, right? We have two members on here actually with us. We have Grace and Randall. Grace and Randall are probably also going to talk about their social pillars that kind of align towards their position. Um, to give more context, the four pillars within FASA are social, educational, political, and cultural. I know I'm supposed to be the host here and not really the one talking as a talking head, but kind of to fill in and give a little bit more context on that. So, as those in Sayao, Randall, Grace, which one of y'all want to take on describing and kind of going? Oh, Randall is super excited and super pumped to talking about his pillar and what his position kind of does. So take it away.
Yeah, so like Chloe mentioned before, there are four pillars, right? And one of them is the educational pillar, right? The chairs and officers that fall under the educational pillar are the historian and academics chair, which I am, right? But to be more specific about what the educational pillar more like entails, right? There's a specific month that we celebrate Filipino American history, which is in the month of October, right? So, like it says, the month of October entails the Filipino American History Month, right? The historian and other chairs, specifically the historian, basically talk about what it means to be Filipino, a bunch of the things that Filipino Americans have done for the United States of America, and what they've done here to ensure equity and diversity happens here and all that kind of stuff. But that being said, academics also falls under the educational pillar. And for me, right, we hold a bunch of different educational outreach things, such as Filipino Day, which brings in a whole bunch of Filipino American or Filipinx students, high school students from all across Washington. But if you want to be cool too, we also have a international Canadian come into our last Filipino Day. So that's pretty cool. Basically, we allow high school students to come to the University of Washington and explore what it means to be Filipino American. The academics chair also holds Filipino graduation, which every single undergrad or graduate student that labels himself as Filipino American comes to the intellectual house to get their what was it, castle? No, it was the Filipino Soul here at the UW, right? We just give them that to them, as well as celebrate their accomplishments here at the UW. We also have something called Project Family, which is our high school internship program, right? We basically take around 4 high school interns from anywhere across Washington State to basically work on a little project that they can do to explore what it means to be Filipino American, all that type of stuff, explore what their identity is, right?
Wow, that's great. Grace, do you want to talk a little bit more about the political pillar?
Yeah, yeah, of course. So, the political pillar, the main officers that lead the political pillar would be our political chair and our community service chair. Our community service chair is responsible for bringing awareness to community service events and opportunities that are not only important to the organization like FASA, but also to the greater Seattle area. So, our community service chair in the past has worked with other Filipino organizations in the area, such as NAFCON or Kapatan Alliance. They also will lead other community service events um, on campus. Political chair serves as our representative for um, other boards on campus, such as ASU Dub, and they really speak as our voice to hear our concerns for what we need in RSOs. Other than that, our programming, we also have political corners where we talk about political issues that are important to the Filipino community and have political committee meetings. And we also have fundraising efforts for the Philippines. In our most recent fundraising effort, we had a miracle minute for earthquake relief in the Philippines. Sometimes we also do mutual aid, which we did last year. So our fundraising really brings awareness to the areas where our community needs it the most.
Cool. Great. Awesome. Since we don't have someone to actually like represent the social pillar, I will kind of be the one to talk about that, seeing that I was again the activities chair prior year. Um so the activities, the social pillar is comprised of this activities chair, the public relations chair, and the fundraiser chair. You have different activities that are being thrown throughout the year. You have what is known as, we brand a lot of things as FASA blank. Um, so we have FASA Shores, the FASA Barbecue, FASA Formal, FASA Fams, all of these FASA, you know? But all of these occur either like throughout the year, all throughout the year. So normally FASA Shores is in the summer. So is FASA Barbecue at the end of spring into summer. FASA Formal is, it's kind of like prom but in college and for RSO that normally takes place in winter. FASA Fams is actually it's kind of new. Last year was its second year that I took on. Grace was actually an intern, a freshman intern with me on that project. It is to create a space for those coming into winter, those new admits coming into winter, or those who were shy in fall, to really like build that community with other members within FASA, because it can be really daunting that first quarter to get involved. I'm speaking for myself. I was a shy one who didn't really get involved until winter quarter my freshman year. We have CAP, or the Kuya Ati Adin program. Essentially, that is a mentorship. It has slowly evolved from being underneath the educational pillar and kind of being under the role of academics, where it originally started as a mentorship program that evolved into more of like a brother and sister program. It is still a mentorship program, but not necessarily in the way we think with academics. It kind of felt like a tutoring mentorship program, and has evolved into more of a like friendship and relationship building aspect in terms of mentorship. And then the fundraising chair, they have what is called dog sleds. So if you are ever going to a big football game at UW and you see just a bunch of people driving golf carts around, that's what's called dog sleds. Or they also push the wheelchairs in for you. So the fundraiser chair, I think since 2000, early 2000 ish, has been the one to really, Foss has been the one to really like drive those and like run that event. And that's how, one of the ways we build, or one of the ways we fundraise through FASA. Um, the social, political, educational, and cultural chair encompass, or not chair, but pillars encompass basically all of the chairs except for our executive officers. So two of them being Grace and Jamillah. Grace being the secretary, Jamillah being the vice president. And that's kind of all of the programming that FASA has done now and currently, and it's ever evolving. Um, That was a lot of me talking, so I'm going to throw it back to the people here with me and kind of ask them their student perspective on FASA and kind of like what types of questions new incoming prospective members get. Who can be in FASA? Who can be involved in FASA?
Yeah, so that's a great question. Um, Anyone can be involved in FASA. It doesn't have to, you don't have to just go to UW or be Filipino. An example of this is when we did FASA FAMS last year, we opened it up to people who didn't just go to UW Seattle to really like foster connections between everyone. And also, we've had officers in the past who are not Filipino, but they're super involved in FASA because of its mission statement and because of its programming. Um, the only thing to like be aware of is to be like a quote unquote registered member. You do have to be like a matriculated student of UW, but if you just want to come to our events or participate in our programming, literally it can be anyone. Come out, see our events. Some of them that we mentioned before, like Phil Night, um, things like that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. With that in mind, what types of questions do you usually get from students? I know that there is an RSO tabling that normally happens in September during dog days. Can you tell me a little bit about like the common questions you get asked about FASA and kind of your RSO in general?
Yeah, I can speak about, a lot of students and a lot of our members talk about how can they get more involved within our org, right? And like what Chloe and Grace and Jamillah said before, there's a whole bunch of programming that y'all can be a part of. For instance, if you want to be a more of a mentor, you can always sign up to be one of our core leaders for Project Family, either being a lead mentor, like in charge of a whole cohort of high school students, for and if you want to be more involved within the community service chair is always looking for volunteers to find people to basically help out the community here within Seattle, as well as you can join CAP to find your little special kuya or ate, or be one of those kuya and ates and be in charge of an adding or a little. You can also be a part of our Filipino dance troupe if you want to explore more of what it means to dance and celebrate our own culture through dance, right? And yeah, Jamila, if you have any other things you can talk about involvement.
Oh yeah, and also another way of being involved is being could be an officer. We have elections every May for the next board, and we currently have 12 officer positions starting from exec with president, vice president, secretary, treasurer, and then with our committee chairs of academics, activities, community service, cultural, fundraising, historian, political, relations, and Saya coordinator. And yeah, these are really hands-on involvement. We'd love to, um, and any as long as you've been a member for at least 2 weeks in FASA, anyone could run.
Yeah, that's awesome. So if I wanted to get involved or a prospective member would want to get involved, how would I know when you meet? How would I know where to find you?
That's a great question, and I'm glad that you asked that. Um, so we meet every other Thursday, 5 to 7 or 6 to 8 p.m. It usually just depends on the week. Um, but if you are an incoming freshman or student in general, we will be having events at Dog Days, and then we will also be having our first general meeting in October. More information about that can be found on our Instagram, which is just FASA Sayuda on IG. And you can also find more information on our website, which is currently being updated.
For those who are listening and who may be interested in Filipino culture, who may be Filipino American or Filipino, what can they learn through FASA about what it means to be Filipino or what it means to be Filipino American? Because I think that's important to know.
Yeah, so I'm gonna be a bit of a bit doing a bit more of a personal thing. When I first came into the UW, or in general, trying to learn more about what it means to be Filipino, right? I tended to look more into the culture, right? Especially the Filipino American culture, right? A lot of Filipino American youth tend to be disconnected with their own culture, right? Either than eating lumpia or like eating adobo or eating halo halo, all that type of stuff, right? But when you do join the Filipino American Student Association here at UW, you get to learn more about what it means to be or your own identity as being Filipino, right? If you want to be more connected to your own roots, right? You can come through sayaw meetings, right? Learn how to dance tinikling or like pandango sa ilaw, right? You can also come to our events or come to our meetings to learn more about Filipino history and Filipino politics, especially because a lot of us are born here in America. Like we tend to be disconnected to um, what politics and what the events are happening back in the mainland, the Philippines, right? But being a part of the Filipino American Students Association can allow you to delve deeper into your own identity as Filipino American.
To add off of that, like Randall mentioned about Sayao, I think that FASA does a good job of opening up the lens of the different communities within the Philippines and how many different identities there are. Like from Saya alone, you go through the different periods that the Philippines went through, the different regions, because the dances are based off of different areas. Like we have more rural dances, and then we have more of the Spanish dances, like the Maria Clara suite. So that's something to look forward to if that's something that you're interested in. Um, there's also a lot of history that FASA tries to implement in its programming. Um, Last year, we did a social media project about what it means to be in the diaspora and what it means to be Filipino, even though you may not have been to your homeland. And I think that people also are very inclusive of if you want to learn more, especially because there's a lot of things in our Discord or in in our meetings where people reach out and try to help you learn more about the history, or if you want to learn Tagalog, people will be there to guide you every step of the way. And it's not confined to just one region or one definition.
Yeah, that's awesome. Are there any things that you would want to say to new incoming students who want to get involved with an RSO or get involved with campus involvement or even just getting involved with FASA? Are there any tips and tricks that you, as students who have transitioned from out of state, from in state, and from transferring in, that you want to give to others so they also have these tools that they can continue on forward with it while at their time during UW?
I think one thing to really emphasize is to like make the effort to go to all RSO events or like any like events in particular that's happening at around UW that are that are interested towards you or towards your hobbies. Because I know it's a little awkward at first, like going to meetings at first, but the more you push yourself, then the more like comfortable and like the more welcomed you'll start to feel. And yeah, just I think going going doesn't hurt at all. Like worth it's worth knowing like how the experience was like instead of like just missing missing out on it at, instead of missing out on it by not going at all.
For me, I would say, right, try everything that interests you, like what Jamillah said, right? Be sure to dip your little foot into every single RSO that interests you, right? You never know what community you can find here at the UW, right? The UW holds, what is it, over 1,000 RSOs, 1,000 clubs here within our little institution, right? So there's always gonna be a community there for you.
I would just say, uh, like Jamila and Randall said, that there's a lot of different communities and different programs that you can join. Like if one doesn't work for you, that's totally okay because the lucky thing is that there's so many different RSOs on campus.
That's amazing. As we are ending our conversation here together, is there anything that you would like to say to first year families, first year students, anything you want them to know about FASA and kind of takeaways from this conversation?
I would say, right, welcome to UW, right? We're here to welcome all of y'all in to this lovely family we have at FASA. We're here to support you. If you ever need that little support pillar, right, you're always here and always have someone to look back on or watch your back, right? Yeah, we're here to love and support every single one of y'all through your journey here as freshmen, transfer, out of state, anything.
To add off of that, I would just say that what I love a lot about FASA is the deep and rich history that it has behind it. Um, and I know some people, when they like join FASA, they may be intimidated by what a big organization it is or how much history it has. And it has like a pretty big reputation. But I think that's something to love even more about it because there's constantly something to learn, and there's so many people who will reach out to this organization, and it's really nice to be a part of something that is bigger than yourself, where you can help other people in the community. And for me, not just like Filipino people, but like everyone in the greater Seattle community. Um, and also that even though it may seem like a really big organization, there's a lot of different like smaller groups within FASA that if you really find your niche, like uh, I know that you'll like be here for a good long time.
Adding on to what Randall and Grace said, I think one thing FASA does a really good job of is being able to live um, or make shared experiences with other Filipino identifying people, and it's really an eye-opening experience. And by joining like anything in FASA, any event, any programming, like you're adding on to like the 105-year plus legacy that we've always instilled, and we're always evolving. So whenever you come out to any FASA event, you're joining the legacy, and you're leaving your own mark on this amazing organization.
Wow, thank you all. That is so incredibly awesome. But whenever we meet, we as in FASA, whenever we have meetings or whenever we interact with each other, meetings in our committees, just meetings in general, we like to end with what is called an isang bagsak. So an isang bagsak can be translated in various ways. It can be translated as when one falls, we all fall. The way that we in FASA take it as is one step down, one step forward. Isang Bagsaki was first instilled and kind of used during the Delano grape strikes movement, which was Filipinos and Chicanos and going through that farm work and going through that movement. And even though there was a language barrier, there was still this feeling that they had where when one falls, we all fall together, and this was kind of that togetherness for them. So it is just a big clap, a slow clap that we do. Sometimes you can't see it on the camera since this is an audio, but sometimes we like to rub our hands together and kind of do a little outro before we do this. Essentially, an isang bagsak is a slow clap with no practice, and then we end it with a big isang bagsak, and then we clap and woo together. Are we ready? Isang bagsak!
Woo!
The Husky Huddle Up podcast is a collaboration between the University of Washington first year programs and parent and family programs to provide parents and families equitable access to information in support of their student success. The Husky Huddle Up is produced by me, Chloe Jiselle, a senior in the UW Cinema and Media Studies program.